Good afternoon.
We are going right ahead, um, and we are going to make a start. We were looking at the question Layne and Hart. I think we have to complete that question. That question was not completed. So I think we have to complete that particular question. So we are going straight into our Layne and Hart, and we would have, so here, share my screen. We would have looked at the income statement, but then we left off here at the statement of appropriation. We would have completed the revaluation and the goodwill accounts, and we would have started the capital account. That's what we would have started, the capital account and the current account for Layne, Hart, and Brown. We would have started those. So now we have to continue. I think there's no more entries that has to go for Brown, and there is no other entries for Hart, for Layne. So Layne closing capital is $79,550, and Brown's closing capital is $5,000, right? So let's go back to the statement of appropriation, and we would have come from our sales all the way down to our gross profit. We would have shared our gross profit, how we earn the sales, and we would have also shared the revenue, how the gross profit was shared. We went through our expenses, and one of our expenses was related to sales, so that had to be shared in the manner the profit was also shared. So we came up with a net profit under the old agreement of 1820 and 36,493 under the new agreement, for a total net profit of $38,313. So now we have to look at our drawings. Now you're all supposed to have the question in front of you, but let's get a quick look at the question with respect to drawings and capital, because we have to do some, and other things because we have to do some calculations. In the question here, it stated drawings. Layne withdrew on August 1st, 2012, $2,400. Hart withdrew on October 1st, 2012, $1,500. Brown withdrew on March 1st, 2013, $2,000. We have to look back at the agreement. The old agreement states that cash drawings interest is at a rate of 4%. So we know that Layne and Hart must be charged an interest of 4% under the old agreement for these drawings here. However, Brown was not there, so Brown cannot be charged at 4% under the old agreement. Let's look at the new. Under the new agreement, it states no interest will be charged on drawings. So no interest is charged on drawings under the new agreement. So therefore, Brown is not getting a charge on drawings under the new agreement. but Layne and Hart will be charged interest on their drawings under the old. That interest on drawings is based on when they took the drawings. Layne did not take the drawings at the beginning of July. She took it on August 1st. And remember, the old agreement ends October 31st. So therefore, her interest on drawings must be calculated from August 1st to October 31st, up to that point. And then Hart, now on the other hand, only took drawings in October. So therefore, the old agreement ended in October. So therefore, her interest on drawings is just based on that month that she would have taken the drawings. We also see that there is a salary. There's a salary for Layne, and that salary is $1,800 a year. However, when this is under the new agreement, Layne is getting a salary of $1,800 a year. When we look back at the old agreement, there is no salary for any of the partners. There's no salary for any partner under the old agreement. So that means that Layne's salary has to do with the new agreement. So under the old agreement, you cannot put any salary. We also noted we have to do interest on capital. So we would have stated under the old agreement, at the beginning of the financial year, Layne's capital account was $65,000 and Hart's capital account was $62,000. So therefore, and we cannot charge any interest on capital for Brown because under the old agreement, we cannot charge any interest on capital for Brown because Brown was not in the old agreement. So the old agreement says interest is paid on capital at 6%. So it means that Layne and Hart will be given interest on these capital figures here under the old agreement because that will be their capital at the beginning of the financial year. So they will be paid interest on those capital figures up to the point of when the old agreement would have ended. So let's look at the new agreement. The new agreement states that interest on capital will continue at the old rate. So it means interest on capital is continuing at that 6% per annum. So here under the new agreement, Brown will be paid interest on his capital. So Brown will be paid interest on his capital, and Layne will also have interest on capital under the new agreement as well. However, the interest for Layne on the capital under the new agreement is not the $65,000 because Layne would have started with $65,000. But when we look at the capital account, we would have done revaluation up to when the partnership changed, they would have revalued the asset. So there was a gain on revaluation, which increased Layne's capital. There was also goodwill that increased Layne's capital. So then under the new agreement, Layne will get interest on the new capital balance that he has and not the old capital balance. So I want to mention those points. So if you have any questions, you are free to ask your questions. Or if there's something you don't understand, you're free to state that as well. No questions? Okay. Abiyomi, you saw the corrections? Okay, so we're looking at Layne and Hart. So now we have partner A is Layne, partner B is Hart. So these are our two partners. and the interest on drawings. So going back to the question. Layne would have withdrawn $2,400 on August 1st, so that's $2,400 times is 4% times August, September, October, 3 months. So the interest is charged for 3 months. So that's 3 on 12. Okay. Hart, on the other hand, took $1,500 times 4%, and that was only October. The agreement ended in October, so that's 1 on 12. Okay. So under the old agreement, under the new agreement, any figures? Any figures?
$24 for Layne.
Pardon?
I got $24 for Layne.
Mm-hmm. $24 for Layne, and what for Hart?
$20 for Hart.
$5 to Hart. We would have established that is no interest on drawings under the new agreement. So we would have established that. So therefore, no interest on drawings under the new agreement. So therefore, now we are, yes, please.
Oh, sorry. I asking.
If not hearing you, I'm not hearing you, Raquel.
Oh, you can hear me now?
A little bit better, yeah.
I was asking if you could go through the months again.
If I could.
Go through the months.
I'm not getting what you're at. I'm not getting you again.
Okay, I'll write it.
Okay, so at some point did you come up very hard. So when you said okay, I'll write it, I heard you clearly. But then after that, then I'm not hearing you clearly. Oh, go over the months again. Okay. All right. We are seeing that when you look at the drawings, it shows that Layne withdrew the $2,400 on August 1st. Okay. And under the old agreement, there was an interest on drawings, but under the new agreement, there's no interest on drawings. So therefore, the interest on drawings for Layne and Hart must be calculated just for that time period of the old agreement, and not only the time period of the old agreement, but from when they took. Because if you say time period of the old agreement, you may tend to say, well, it's 4% times 4 on 12 because the old agreement was 4 months. But because the old agreement was a 4-month period, they did not have the drawings for the full 4-month period, because Layne did not take the drawings at the beginning of the financial year. She took them during the year, so she took them on August 1st. So August, September, October, the old agreement ends on October. So that is 3 months that you have to calculate interest on drawings for her. Because remember that the 4% is an annual rate. That is a yearly rate. But the old agreement only provides interest on drawings under the old agreement, and there is no interest on drawings under the new agreement. So Hart, on the other hand, would have taken her drawings the same month that she left the partnership. So therefore, she can only be charged interest for that 1 month. She cannot be charged interest for 4 months. She has to be charged interest for the 1 month because she took it the same month that she was leaving the partnership. Is that clear? Did I answer your question? Oh, okay. All right.
So mine for the new agreement, no, you won't put 10 brown.
There's no interest on drawings under the new agreement, so you cannot do any calculations at all for interest on drawings. The new agreement does not allow for interest on drawings. So that is why you have to read the question carefully, and that is why I keep stating the point that you should read the agreement and make note what the old agreement states and make note what the new agreement states. And that is one of the first things you should note down when you are doing these questions. Because if you don't note it down and keep referring to it when you're doing the questions, you would tend to, okay, this was under the old, so let me do it under the new too. But you can't do that because one states one thing and the other states something different. So we cannot include Brown in interest on drawings because there was none when Brown came. So I hope that is clear. Go ahead.
Julia is saying that she can't get in the class.
There is nothing stopping anyone from entering the class because persons are there's no one in the lobby. There's no one in the lobby. There's no one can go in the lobby because they start the class, so persons can come straight in. So Julia, you may need to tell Julia to log off the Teams or like go to the Teams and come back in again. If she's going on the website, like to log out the website, come off of Teams, log back in, and go on and go again and see what happens. Because it may be her device or internet or something that's giving her an issue. All right, Naisha?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So that's the interest on drawings. So now we've calculated the interest on drawings. We can now calculate our new net profit. So that would be 1820 plus 29 under the old. So the net profit now is 1 to our, I will call that my net profit. Oh, that's what I will call that. Because that is my net profit now after I would have put in my interest on drawings. There's none here. There is no interest on drawings under the new, so the net profit remains the same under the new agreement. And then obviously our total new net profit is $38,342. So it is this $38,342, or in other words, these figures here that we have to look at sharing, let's say, appropriating when it comes to the interest and salaries, etc., etc. Right, that's what we're looking at there. All right, let me see if I can push down this here a little bit so that I get all of my interest on one page. Right. So we are looking, it is this 1849 and 36,493 under the old. that we're looking at. So now we're going to subtract the interest on capital. So let's look at doing the interest on capital. So you have Layne. So the interest on capital, we have Layne, we have Hart, and we also have Brown, because the old agreement provides for interest on capital, and the new agreement also provides for interest on capital. So the interest on capital under the old agreement is at 6%. Okay, so let's look at Brown. Brown opening capital was $65,000. So that is times 6%. And remember, the old agreement was only for 4 months. So then that is times 4 on 12. Hart, on the other hand, opening capital was $62,000, and that is times 6%, and that is times 4 on 12. Well, we know Brown was not on the old agreement, so she's not getting any interest on capital, period, under the old agreement, right? So we're dealing with the old. So what's the interest on capital for Layne?
1,300.
1,300. Hart.
1,240.
Right, so that is Layne and Hart. And now we have to look at the new agreement. So under the new agreement, Brown's capital is $75,000, and Layne's new capital is $79,550. Why? Because Layne would have started the financial year with an investment of $65,000 into the business of capital. But when Hart retired, there was again a revaluation of the assets of $550, and there was a share of goodwill of $14,000 that was given to Layne. So these two figures increased his capital, her capital, to $79,550. So it means that under the new agreement now, the interest is going to be calculated on her new capital figure, what her capital figure would be at the end, rather than what it was at the beginning when it was the old agreement. So this is what you usually do when you have these changes questions. When you have these change in partnership questions, and you have this old and new agreement, and you have capital under the old, interest on capital under the old, interest on capital under the new, you must be able to complete the capital account for the partner that is still in the partnership. The partners that are still there, you must calculate, complete their capital account so that you know what their new capital figures are, and that you'll be able to use those new capital figures to calculate the interest on capital under the new agreement, if there is interest on capital under the new agreement. Because if there's no interest on capital under the new agreement, there's no point in trying to figure out new capital for the statement of appropriation. You only try to do that if there is interest on capital under the new. Okay. So Layne new, so this will be Layne new, capital is 70, as I say, 79,500. That is staying the same 6% because they said it was the old rate, and that is staying 8 on 12.
I think it's 79,550.
Oh yeah, 550. Thank you. And Brown is the 75,000 times 6% times 8 on 12. Because the new agreement is that time frame. So let's go ahead and calculate those figures for me.
Mom, I
So
think
Layne, they got 3182.
There's Lionel who was speaking.
Mom.
Mm-hmm.
Mom, what's with this disrespect, Mom?
I
Oh,
can't
sorry,
get it,
it's Jonathan. Sorry, I was, listen, I am presenting. So once I'm in presentation mode, I cannot see who is speaking. I went to my spreadsheet, just hear a male voice, and I know it's either Jonathan or Layne. I don't mean any disrespect. Excuse me a minute,
No,
please.
but it's just
Sorry,
it's
excuse
more
me a
sometimes
minute.
that's a kid
Nah, we
thing,
bring
man.
something late.
Sorry. Excuse me a minute. Let me check on see what's happening here. My apologies. Sorry about that. So I just have to check to see what is happening. Okay, now I'm going to settle this with you, gentlemen. When I am on my spreadsheet or I am presenting, if you say something, say, ma'am, this is Jonathan, ma'am, this is Layne, and then go ahead and say it, right? But you're both sweet boys. All right, so who was
Man,
speaking?
it's cool.
Yeah, I know,
It's cool, you know, mom.
I
It's
know,
just a thing.
I know. There's no problem. Who was speaking was Jonathan? Which, who was the
Actually,
person? Okay, great. Good. Jonathan, you were saying what was the figure you were giving me?
I was giving you 3182. Someone else was speaking to. We all
Well,
getting
it
something
was,
like that.
yeah, it was a female. It was
That's the thing.
3182,
80. Yeah.
right? And her is 0. And Brown is how much?
30,000.
30,000.
3,000, sorry.
Oh,
3,000.
3,000 is right. So now we are going to add those. So total capital to be deducted under the old is 2,540, and total capital to be deducted under the new is 6,182.
Wait, Mama girl, 3180, not 82.
Yeah, 3,180.
Yeah.
And is there anything did you put in 79,550 or did you put 79,500 in your calculator?
Wait, ma, that's my mistake. Sorry.
Oh, okay, no problem. Sometimes just a calculation error. Right. So the total interest on capital to be deducted from my profit figure here, which is 38,342, is $8,752. So you know that from this 36,493, we are deducting $6,182 in capital, interest on capital, and from this 89.49, we are going to deduct $2,540. So let's look at the salaries. We would have stated when we were looking at the question that the only person entitled to a salary is Layne. Layne is the only person that is entitled to a salary. So you have only one person getting salary. No other person is getting any salary. So only Layne is entitled to salary.
And that's under the new agreement.
Yes, and it's under the new agreement, and the salary was $1,800. However, remember the new agreement, the $1,800 is for the full year. But Layne, under the old agreement, Layne wasn't getting any salary, so that means that 4-month period does not count. She has to find out how much salary Layne is entitled to for the 8-month period of that agreement. So she's entitled to $1,800 a year, but right now she can't get the full 18. We want to know how much she's entitled to for the 8-month period. So that would be 1,800 times 8 on 12. So how much is Layne entitled to?
1,200.
So you know that is 1,200, and that is 1,200 for Layne. There's none for anybody else. So I put it in the wrong place. Sorry. It's under the new. Right. So under the new, it is $1,200. That she's entitled to. Right. And we get our figure. Always remember to do that. Always remember to total in your total columns as well. So that is 1,200 in salaries for Layne, right? So we have the salaries for Layne, and there is nothing else. There is nothing else. Just made a mistake. So there's nothing else that needs to be done. So what we need to do now is find out what our residual profit or loss is that we need to deal with for the partner. So that is what we need to find out now. What is the residual profit or loss that we are going to be sharing with the partners? So let's look at our we keep doing that on the right. So our residual profit would be 1,849 minus 2,540. Obviously, there's nothing here minus this 0. So therefore, the residual here under the old agreement, there is a loss. So that is a loss that has to be shared for the old partners, for Layne and Hart. So this loss here of 691 will be shared with Layne and Hart only. So let's see what it is for the new agreement. You have 36,493 in profits minus 6,182 minus $1,200. So under the new agreement now, there is a profit to be shared with Layne and Brown. So for the first 4 months, they realize a loss, and that loss has to be shared with Layne and Hart only. And then under the 8 months, then they got a profit, and the profit is supposed to be shared with Layne and Brown. That's what's going to happen there. So then our total profits, etc., that has to be shared is 28,420. So this becomes now the balance of profits or losses, right? So this is our balance of profit or loss, profit or loss. So that's the balance here. So here, this is for Layne and Hart. They have to share that 691, and I'm going to highlight these here. Show it there. This is what we're sharing up now in the profit sharing ratio. These figures here. This is what we're sharing in the profit sharing ratio. So we have Layne, Hart, and Brown. Those are the 3 persons, and we may have so let's look at Layne and Hart first. I think Layne, the old agreement states that Layne and Hart share profits and losses equally. So they have to share this 691 equally. So that would be 691 times a half, or 691 divided by 2, or 691 divided by 2. So 691, and I think you get 350. So that is Layne and Hart. And I am going to round this to the 50 for both of them. There's a reason why I'm rounding that to the 50. Because a student was asking a question, I think, in the other class, a student was wondering if you couldn't round it up. So I told the student that if you round it, then it'd be you'll be giving 346. That's what you'll be doing. You'll be giving 346 for both persons. And if you put 346 here, when you add 346, it's not going to come back to this 691. So whatever you share here has to come back to this 691. So what if you round it, what you will have to do is to give one person 346 and the other person 345. That's what you will have to do. So if you're rounding, it means that one person will have to be 346 and the other person will have to be 345. That's what will have to happen. So if you want to do that, I can do that. I can say, well, Layne is 346 and Brown is 345. But right now, so we can do that. Do you want me to round it?
No, ma'am.
Okay, good.
A good part is there, man.
A good part is very good too. Right. So this is Layne, and obviously Brown is 0, right? So then when we sum here, we get at 691. All right, nice number, 691. That is what it was. Matter of fact, I did not put the negative sign in front of it. You got to put the negative sign. Then I forget to put the negative sign because remember it's a negative number, right? So it's a negative number. So we put back our negative sign. Right, so negative sign. So 691. So then let's look at the new for Layne and Brown. No, Hart is not getting anything on the new, so we don't have to worry about him. We have to look at Hart and Brown. Go back to your note 1. Go back to note 1. When you go back to note 1 states Layne will be entitled to a salary at a rate of $1,800 a year, and Brown will be guaranteed a profit of $24,000 a year. Okay, so Brown is guaranteed a profit of $24,000 a year. So we are seeing that currently the profit sharing ratio between Layne and Brown is that Layne is getting 3/5 of that $29,111, and Brown's supposed to get 2/5 of that $21,111. Now, what I want you to do for me is to calculate 2/5 of that $29,111. Calculate 2/5 of that. Remember, he has a guaranteed profit. $11,000.
$44.40.
Okay, so $11,644.40. No, you cannot give Brown that. Why not? Because Brown has a guaranteed profit. No, the guaranteed profit for Brown, as I said, is $2,400, $44,000 a year. But remember that Brown is not there for the full year. So what should Brown receive as a minimum for the 8 months that she was there? So somebody tell me, what should Brown receive as a minimum for the,
16,000.
pardon?
I have worked out before. I think it
Mm-hmm.
was 16,000. I could be wrong.
16,000. Anybody else?
Agreement.
Yes, it's 16,000. So the minimum that Brown's supposed to get for the full year is 24,000 times 8 on 12, which is $16,000. And therefore, that would mean that Layne would have to get the remainder. So 29,100 minus $16,000. She would get whatever is left over. So what is that Layne is getting there?
$13,111.
Huh? Oh yeah, 14,111. 13,000.
$13,111.
Okay, 13,111. Okay, I just want to pull a note. Wait, I was pulling a note. So 13,111. So that means the total profit, and I think I'll put on decimals from this figure here. The total profit for Layne is $12,765.50. Because remember, in the current account, you cannot record a loss and a gain at the same time for the person. So this kind of nets it off to a profit, because this is a loss, and if you subtract that from the 13,111, then the profit for Layne is $12,765.50. Hart is going to record a loss in her current account, $345.50, and Brown will get the profit of $16,000. Right? So this is what we get here. And we come back to that nice figure of $29,111, $28,420. So that completes our state appropriation count, and this is what was calculated to show that Brown is getting if you do 2/5, Brown would get $11,644, which is less than the minimum. So because that you are doing less than the minimum, you cannot give that to Brown. So this is the guarantee. Right?
So, ma'am, if there wasn't a guaranteed, what will happen?
You would do the 2/5, 3/5.
Oh, okay.
If there wasn't a guarantee, you would have to do the profit sharing ratio. But once
So
there's a
that means Layne
guarantee,
would get the 3/5 and Brown would get the 2/5.
yeah, if there wasn't a
Okay.
guarantee. Mhm. if there wasn't a guarantee, Layne would have gotten the 3/5, and Brown would have gotten that $11,644. But because there's a guarantee, Layne cannot get no less than $16,000. So you have to give her the $16,000 first, and then whatever is left over, Brown, you have to give Brown that $16,000 first, and then whatever is left over, Layne would then get the leftovers. Right? So that is the for Layne, and this is the statement of appropriation. So then you will go on to your current account, and you will put in your interest on the loan. So you put in your loan interest on capital, your salary, your share of profits on the credit side. On the debit side, you put in your drawings, your interest on drawings. So we also had salary that was withdrawn by Layne. So that will be a salary drawing, so to speak. Layne took out some of her salary that she was entitled to. And there is a loan interest, and I will put a drawing next to that, because Hart was entitled to a certain amount of loan interest, but she already took $200, right? So Hart took $200 in interest, and Layne took $600 of her salary. The drawings for Layne was $2,400, Hart was $15,000, and Brown was $2,000. And we know interest on drawings was $24 for Layne and $5 for Hart, $0 for Brown. Right? So let's look at here the loan, the interest on the interest. This is what you have to total here, because if you don't total, you might pick up wrong figures. The interest on capital for Layne was a total of $4,482. For Brown, it was $1,240, and for Hart, $1,240, and Brown $3,000. And the salary for Layne was $1,200. The total profit that foregoes for Layne is $12,765.50. Hart will have a loss of $345.50, and Brown's profit is $16,000. So you're going to put this in. So you have share of loss as well, and that is Hart, 345.50. So we have to increase that. And then you have the loan interest for Hart. The loan interest for Hart was $300, and the interest on capital $4,482, $1,240, and $3,000. For Layne, $1,200. That's how much she was entitled to. She was entitled to $1,200 for the 8 months, but she took 6 out of the 12. Right?
Ma'am, all of
yes.
this is coming from what we just calculated in the income statement.
Yes.
For the appropriation account. But
yes, the only one that is coming from the income statement is the loan interest. This figure here, from the loan interest is coming from the P&L, but all the interest on drawings, the interest on capital and salaries, and the profit is the appropriation account.
oh, okay, understood.
Right? And then the share of profit, $12,765.50. And then the for Hart sharing a loss, right? And Brown is $16,000. right? Then we have here, we have to then balance our accounts. So I don't think there's anything else that needs to be added. I don't think there's anything else that has to be added there. So remember that Hart leaves the partnership. So once Hart leaves the partnership, it means that Hart current account will close off, because if you're no longer in business, you shall have an account on the books of the business. So Hart will not have a balance on her current account. The amount that would have been her balance, or the amount that if she has undrawn profits, which meaning that her credit side is greater than her debit side, whatever that difference is transferred to her capital account. Right? So in other case, whether it's the debit side, credit side, whatever it is, whatever difference is on Hart's current account is transferred to her capital account. So when we look at Hart, so that's capital. When we look at Hart, her credit side is $5,740. So and her debit side is currently $26.50. So that would be 5740 minus 2650. Wait now. So that means we are transferring, something looks wrong here. 5740 minus, what did I total? Right, let me see. It's 26. I think something's wrong. 15,600. Well, the $600 here is wrong. That's for Layne. I put the 600 in the wrong place. So that is 5740 minus 20. So the amount to transfer for Hart to her capital account is this $3,689.50. So then this is debited in the current account. So you go to the capital account on the credit side, go current account, Hart $3,689.50. Right? Right, so that is for Hart. And then when you look at Brown and Layne debit side is 18,447. So these will have balances on their account. So you will have a balance carried down for both Layne and Brown because they're still in the partnership. So that would be Brown is 18,447.50 minus 3824. So let's put our decimals. So Layne has a credit balance of $14,623.50. So Layne has a credit balance of $14,622.50. It is carried down on the debit side and brought down on the credit side. So that's why too it's a credit balance. For Brown, that would be $19,000 minus $2,000, $17,000. So Brown has a credit balance of $17,000. So this completes the current account for the partners. And then we just have to complete the capital account and close off Hart's capital account. But we already know that Layne and Brown has balances on their capital account of $79,550 and $75,000 respectively. But the question said that note number 7 said that Hart is to be paid $8,000 cash. So therefore, credit here because the cash account is going to be, sorry, you debit here because the cash account is credited. So you debit capital for Hart $8,000. Cash account is credited for that $8,000 to pay her that $8,000. However, it went on and states, and she has indicated to the new partners that any remaining balance owed to her should be treated as an interest-free loan, right? So what was due to Layne, me to Hart, after everything was said and done, and everything that she had put into the partnership, she put in $62,000. She was going to get $80,239.50 back from the partnership. However, she said out of that, I want $8,000 cash. So the partners will pay her the $8,000. And she said, well, whatever is left over, I'm going to leave it as a loan. So that's what she's saying. So she's doing a loan to the partnership for whatever is left over. So that would be $80,239.50 minus that $8,000. So then the loan is $72,239.50, right? So the loan, so this is the new loan here, $72,239.50, right? So this completes the capital and the current account for Layne, Hart, and Brown. So all you have to do now is the statement of financial position for Layne and Brown. You don't put Hart name here because Hart is no longer part of the partnership. You're doing because you're at the end of the financial year, Hart is not there. Hart was only there up to October, right? So now you have to do the statement of financial position for Layne and Brown only. So you all can do that statement of financial position when you come Monday. And also there's a practice question called Dan and Man. So I want you to work on that question, Dan and Man, as well. But then what we're also going to be looking at on Monday, we're going to look at Gill and Taylor. Gill and Taylor is similar to this Layne and Hart, but the difference is that the goodwill account is not maintained on the books of the business, and when the assets were revalued, you had an allowance for that at the point of revaluation as well. So we're going to be looking at those two new concepts and move on from there. We were supposed to be starting disillusions on Monday, but we will see how that goes. So we may have to start it sometime later in the week. Your mid-semester test is supposed to be on the 18th of October, Monday the 18th of October, supposed to be your mid-semester test, which is based on units 1 and 2. And you will understand that unit 1 is encompassing what we are doing now in unit 2, which is actually preparing a statement of appropriation. Unit 2 deals with changes, and you will see that unit 2 I have broken down into 2A, the change, and then 2B, which is the dissolution, right? So that is what your test is supposed to be based on. So practice Dan and Man, and when you come on Monday, we are going to be looking at Gill and Taylor, which have a slight variation. Please complete the statement of financial position for this question as well. We look at that on Monday to see if you were correct. So at this time, do you all have any questions? 18th, it's supposed to be the 18th of October. All right. Okay, so we don't have any questions. So if there are no questions, you have your homework. Complete the step. Yes,
I
please.
could try one like this and one from unit 1 and send it to you.
It doesn't make sense doing the unit 1, because unit 1 has to do mainly with getting you to understand how to do the appropriation account, because unit 1 will be basically a review of how to do an income statement, which you should know how to do that. But then the part of unit 1 which was critical was the partnership part, where we did the statement of appropriation. And so therefore this unit 2 is encompassing both of them. So unit 2 has the element of unit 1, and it also has and then it has the change, right? So if you're gonna practice, it's best to practice a question from unit 2. So that's why I suggested Dan and Man. You can try Dan and Man, and then go from there.
Oh, okay.
Right. So I just want to wish everyone a great weekend. Finish the stem of financial position for this question, and continue to adhere to all protocols and restrictions with respect to COVID-19, and please continue to stay as safe as you possibly can. Right? So that's it for this afternoon.